The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Thank you. Over the last decade, Mr. Speaker, in Nova Scotia, we have reduced our emissions by 6 megatons. I think we all recognize that this is the path, the trajectory that we want the province to be on. But the government has committed to reduce our emissions for the coming decade by just 1.3 megatons. Now, the IPC says that what's needed is a rapid escalation of the level of ambition about reduction of emissions. So I want to ask the Premier, does he think that a drop from 6 megatons to 1.3 qualifies as a rapid escalation of the level of ambition?
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the honourable member for his question. I want to thank Mr. Speaker, Nova Scotians, one end of this province to the other, who continue to work alongside successive governments when it comes to the issue of reducing our greenhouse gas reduction. Mr. Speaker, we are currently at 30% above 2005 levels. We will be on track to be at least 50% below that level by 2030. We're continuing to see a decline, Mr. Speaker, in the reduction of greenhouse gas and the improving of what's happening within inside of our own province. Efficiency Nova Scotia has done an outstanding job of working with communities and individual Nova Scotians and businesses to ensure that we green up our own footprints, Mr. Speaker. There are actually many stats that will tell you that the green economy in this province is going to outpace the rest of the economy as it is right now, Mr. Speaker. It's about a 5% growth in the green economy and about 2% across the rest of the economy. Those are all important signs that not only are we improving the environment, Mr. Speaker, but we're also growing the economy with it.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Thank you. But none of this changes the fact that the IPCC report made clear that our emission reduction targets are not strong enough to avoid the costs associated with global warming above 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, information acquired through Freedom of Information by our caucus shows that government staff recommended a more ambitious target of 50% below 2030 levels, but that the government opted for the weaker target of 45% below those levels. Will the Premier explain why his government chose a weaker emissions reduction target than was actually recommended by the government's own staff?
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member would have been in this House. He's listened to me each time, Mr. Speaker. I've never said 45%. We're on target to be below 50, Mr. Speaker. I think we can actually achieve higher, Mr. Speaker. We continue to make investments to help individual Nova Scotians reduce their footprints, whether it is investments in insulation programs, transitioning to people new opportunities to heat their homes, all kinds of innovative ways that we're partnering with communities, businesses, and, Mr. Speaker, many other organizations with Efficiency Nova Scotia to continue to use the dollars that we have to help Nova Scotia reduce the footprint, at the same time making sure that we, like all across the country, reduce our use of coal, but doing it in a way, Mr. Speaker, that doesn't shock the pocketbooks of Nova Scotians. So we're doing it in a balanced approach that is stabilizing energy prices for the first time in over a decade, and at the same time reducing our greenhouse gases and growing our economy.
The Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party.
Thank you. In our province, we've been fortunate to have a framework for tripartisan support on climate action, the Environmental Goals and Sustainable Prosperity Act. And that act, when it was established, was precedent-setting and attracted attention from many places, but the Liberal government has ignored and neglected the act since that time. Under that act, there's a provision for a comprehensive review and consultation to take place every 5 years. It took place as scheduled and called for in 2012, but it didn't take place in 17, and it didn't take place in 18, and by now it's fallen 2 full years behind. I want to ask the Premier, why has his government allowed the consultation and review process for EGSPA to be ignored and neglected now for 2 full years?
The Honourable Premier.
Again, I want to thank the honourable for the question. As he would know, that process is ongoing. I think I heard the minister yesterday was talking about that work with our partners to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that we continue to do that review. He would also know the very program he's talking about has 2 components. How do we protect the environment of the province, continue to green the economy, at the same time growing the economy, Mr. Speaker? I want to remind the honourable member we continue to reduce our greenhouse gas Production in this province will be 50% below 2005 levels by 2030. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, as I said a few minutes ago, we're growing jobs in this province, Mr. Speaker. More young people see a future for themselves. We're seeing the green economy outpace the rest of the economy, Mr. Speaker, all in a positive way. Mr. Speaker, we got balanced budgets. We're able to invest in the economy. We'll invest in the environment. At the same time, we'll invest in our people so they see a future for themselves here.